Tashe, it was nice meeting you. Can you give me a shake? Can we shake? High five. Yes, high five. This is Tashe, and this is her roadmap to success. I always love working with Dalmatians since I have them myself. She's a great dog, and she's a very, very smart Dalmatian. And I think that's worked a little bit against her. So I think that she gets bored easily with certain things. I think that she's a little bit under-stimulated, under-exercised. I'm going to hold this for a minute just to keep you in the shot. So I'd like the guardians to start increasing her exercise, and preferably earlier in the day. She gets to go for a good walk, but it's a little bit later in the day, and I think she's kind of saving up rambunctiousness during the day. I'd like the guardians to keep a journal of the exercise that she gets, and exercise and stimulation. So one of the games that you can play with her is being a dog using a nose game. So maybe to go into a room that she's not allowed to be in, or that she's not in, leave some treats, hide them. At first make them real easy to find, and do 5 treats each time, or same number each time. And then basically you go into the room, call her into the room, and have her find it. And every time she finds the treat, she licks it up. Maybe you say discovery, or whatever the word that means, finding it. So eventually what we do is we teach her this is a game that she can do. It stimulates her because she gets to use her nose. It's fun for her. She gets treats at the end. And mental stimulation can be just as good as physical stimulation. But I'd like to start the journal in a piece of paper for each day. Write the day at the top. Write tug of war for 5 minutes. 2-mile walk, whatever it is. All the different things that she does throughout the day. Then at the end of the day, assign the day a grade. Sit. And then vary it up. Maybe that was a C+ day. The next day, maybe we vary it up, and instead of playing tug of war for 5 minutes each time, we do 7 minutes. You'll find a combination where she really likes it, and then she's willing to want to do it, or where her energy and overall behavior throughout the day is going to be better because she doesn't have all this pent-up excess energy. It's going to help with the digging of the holes in the backyard and a lot of the nuisance behaviors that she has. She's got good, really, like I said, she's a very smart dog. The guardians have done a good job of training her, but some of the training techniques I think were a little bit ragged around the edges, which we cleaned up a little bit. But making her delay gratification, like I'm doing right now, she has treats, she's trying to paw to get the treat. So she has to wait for me to be willing to give her the treat, and I'm going to ask her to do something before I do each time. And since she was doing that, we'll go ahead and do that again. High five? 5. I would change it maybe to 5. One-word commands are best. So start the journal, do that, keep that for about 2 weeks, and play around with the variables of the exercise and stimulation until we find one where she starts getting A+ days. And then we start repeating that. We know what she needs to survive, to thrive. Okay, so that's basically the exercise. I'd like to add structure as well. She really only had a couple of rules. Now the guardians do have some more structure, not necessarily rules, but baby gates and some other things, and which have been great. But the more that we ask her to delay gratification, and the more that we ask her to earn what she gets, the more she's going to have better self-control and self-pride and self-esteem. So one of the things we went over were some rules. One of the rules, the guardians already have no furniture. I went through a way off camera where they can talk about, can you guys both in the shot?
Yep.
Where you can basically put her in a room that she's not allowed to be on the furniture, and then basically leave the room but watch from a security monitor or from outside or something along those lines. As soon as she gets up there, we come in and bust her for doing it, make her get down. Then we leave and try to do that again. And after we've done that enough times with enough repetition, she learns, even though the humans aren't in my presence or even in the house, I'm still not allowed to be on the furniture. All right, so furniture would be one, which you already kind of have. Rule number 2 would be having to sit before she gets to go through any door. Now we're going to tell her to sit one time only. If she doesn't sit within about 2-3 seconds, walk away, turn on the TV, grab your phone, read a newspaper, wait 1 minute. Then after 1 minute, come back and tell her to sit. Sit. As soon as she sits, give her the treat. Say sit after the treat goes in her mouth, and then we can open the door. In this case, we wouldn't use a treat, we'd just be using the door as the reward. So as soon as she sits down, the door opens. But if she doesn't sit down within a couple of seconds, that second time we'll walk away for 2 minutes, next time for 4 minutes, next time for 8 minutes. So she has to wait twice as long before the human is generous enough to give her another opportunity to do it right the first time. After a while, she'll start going and sitting at the door. Do this in whatever direction she really wants to go first, and then eventually do it in both directions. Now we have baby gates up. I would do the same sort of thing with the baby gates. Open the baby gate and open it boldly, then walk away. Watch through the deal to make sure I'm centered for you. And then make her wait for progressively longer and longer periods of time before we give her the release command. And come up with a new command word instead of, I know they say go, for some things, but they also say okay, which is a word I'm not really fond of using as a release word because it's such a commonly used word. Let me see. Other rules: not being allowed within 7 feet of any human who's eating. Having to wait until the human eats something first before she's given permission to eat her food, which is already waiting in the bowl. Again, different ways to delay gratification. Now, she is a nudger, and we had a house guest here that really didn't follow any of the rules for a while, and she's regressed a little bit as a result. So I would make sure that we start petting her with a purpose. So remember, if she nudges us or scratches at us or stares at us, we're still going to tell her to do something else. Sit. As soon as she sits, we're going to pet her under her chin, whenever possible, pet her under her chin, and then we're going to say just the command word. Not good sit, just sit. She's already sitting, ask her to lay down. If she's sitting here, ask her to come and sit over here. She just has to do something to change her state. After a while, she'll come and start sitting to prepay for attention. When she does, make sure we recognize that. That's one of the things I did spot, that she was going and sitting in front of people where they did not acknowledge or recognize or reward her. And after a while, the dog's like, well, that doesn't get attention, so I'm going to jump up. I'm going to nudge you, because those are things that do get attention. And for dogs, good attention and bad attention is almost the same thing. So we want to reward her for desired actions and behaviors. That's where passive training comes in. So every time she comes to you, pet her and say, come. Every time she lays down, pet her and say, down. Or she's on her side, say, hip. Hip. Now, the guardians here have taught her a lot of commands, but a lot of them have multiple words. So to change a multiple word command, her command word is on your hip. Yep. Is that what it is? So they say on your hip, but that's too many words for a dog. So every time that she lays on her side like this, I would just give her a treat and say hip. Or if I tell her on her hip and then she lays down on her side, when I give her the treat, I would say hip. Okay. And just the word. So the first time, I say the command word twice. In this case, we're saying the old command word first, then the new command word after the treat is delivered. Petting with a purpose and passive training are the two easiest things we can do to help the dog get in the habit of doing these things. And then the dog will start doing more and more of these things. Now, something else you might want to do is get some treat dispensing toys. Those are good problem solvers. She's such a smart dog. I have a couple in the car actually, but I have one that looks like an oversized golf ball. I put the treats, the dog's got to nudge it just so for the treats to come out. My dog is like a soccer player with this thing. I put it down, it's nudging it all over the house like Pele. So since she's such a smart dog, that might be something else. Instead of feeding her all her meals in the kitchen, or in her dish, maybe she eats some of her meals by having to work for her food, which will make her feel better. This is why petting with a purpose also helps, because she's earning that reward. It's more valuable than just being given willy-nilly. Mm-hmm. Let me see, what else? We went over a focus exercise. I showed the guardians how to do that. I did not shoot footage of that, so if the guardians forgot how to do that, they had already learned a variant of it, but I would do the one that I did with the knees, mm-hmm. where you're waiting for the dog to look voluntarily. If you forgot how to do that, message me. I can send you a video link to that. She also likes to, when she's eating, the cat sometimes tries to go in the bathroom, which is where she's fed. The cat should not be allowed to be in the room once the food goes down. And we're going to make her wait for progressively longer periods of time before she gets to eat. And when we're going to communicate that is when she takes her first bite, we're going to say tugga, which is an Australian word for food. And so we're going to say that when she takes her first bite for about the first 2 or 3 months. And eventually we just say tugga and she'll go in there and get it. I'm probably saying the word wrong, but that's okay. Australians are very nice. But that's the great way of using passive training. So every time she brings you a specific toy, say carrot, or whatever the toy's name is. And eventually, for a smart dog like this, it can work against you or it can work with you. So if we can start naming every toy and name every command and teach her new tricks and commands, that helps stimulate her, which will help her stay in good graces. Now I have the video above which talks about counter surfing, so that should solve that. I'm not really going to talk about that very much. Let me see what else. I use this hand motion for the dog. I'm going to sit, and I lower my hand, let her lick the treat off my hand, or if I don't have one, then I'm going to scratch. Now if you're ever petting her and she does this is a dominance move, so immediately stop petting her. Let me see, what else do we go over? Yes. You give me a kiss? You're thinking about it. She's like, no, I want you to give me more.
No, she won't kiss you, but
she likes people to get kissed.
She likes, but she won't kiss you.
I don't kiss you on camera because I have Dalmatians myself. I'll get in trouble. So let me see. So for feeding her, again, we want the humans to eat something first, even if it's just a couple of bites of food, because for dogs, they eat in the order of their rank. And so by the humans actually eating first, that can help her see and respect them a little bit more as authority figures. Enforcing rules consistently, rewarding desired behaviors through passive training and petting with a purpose are all going to be things that are going to shift the leader-follower dynamic. if you can see her ear now is coming forward. Now this ear is a little bit wonky. It kind of goes off to the side.
Yeah, it does.
But for most of the session, her ears were far back, which is an insecure dog's body mechanic. So we'd like to see her ears more forward like this ear is right here. That's a normal body mechanic that we're looking for. And we should see her a little bit less trepidatious, a little bit less leery of loud sounds and stuff. Luckily, she doesn't have problems with that, where other dogs have big problems with it.
Blowing leaves, she's right in front of
fine.
it.
Okay.
Vacuum right in front of it. You almost have to push her out of the way. She's
Yeah.
really, noises do not freak her out.
Okay.
She's not okay. Fireworks, no problem.
Excellent. I get paid big money to help with fireworks. I would suggest getting a dog bed in every room that she's allowed to hang out in, and give each dog its own separate designation. That way we can direct her. And the way I do is I just toss a treat on the dog bed. When she goes and gets it, then I would say Venice or Santa Monica or whatever the iteration or the words that I want to use. But each dog bed should have its own name. I also like to give dogs directional commands. So if I'm in the room and let's say this is the doorway to the room, I might take a treat. Let's see that I have a treat and toss it about 3 feet outside and then say out. So do this at every door throughout their house. What I would do is have 2 or 3 treats for each door. Just go to a door, and this is a doorway that's already open. And like go to the kitchen and just toss a treat and then say the word, so just like out. So normally we say out, we're frustrated, we're angry, we want the dog to leave us, and that dog interprets that as being punished. So teaching the dog to leaving the room is a good thing, makes them more inclined to do that in the future, makes it easier for us to communicate what we want from them. Same sort of thing with, if you go to a specific room, you can use passive training for that. When the dog goes into the study, you can say study the second she gets the treat. Just remember with the camera or with the treats, make sure to sit. To always say the command word after the treat goes into the dog's mouth. Let me see. I mean, she's a really smart dog. I think really just the guardians had done a really good job with her. I think there was just a little bit of fine tuning, which hopefully we achieved. Now, if you have questions or problems or things you forgot to ask me about, I want you to text me.
Okay.
I can only let you know or help you if you let me know there's problems. And most of my clients only see me one visit. People who do have residual problems that call me right away or text me right away, usually it's the faster you call or text me, the easier it is to solve. I don't charge for that, and I want you to call me or text me.
Okay.
All right. I use a kiss as my affirmation sound. Sit. Sit. Now for her, if we tell her the command, one other thing the guardians were doing was saying the command words multiple times. So we're just going to say it once. If she does it, then we're going to pet her or reward her and say that command of whatever it is after we start petting her or rewarding her or give her the treat. But if I say hip, and she doesn't do it, I keep on doing it, try to engage her to get her to do it. I'm just saying that I'm not really an authority figure because I won't follow through. So I'm just going to say the command word one time. If she doesn't do it, then I go back to doing whatever I was doing before. Also remember that when we come in the door, anything our dog is doing when we pet it is what we're reinforcing. So if she's excited when we pet her, we're making her more excited. So hip. I had to think about that one. So make sure we don't pet her when she's nervous, when she's anxious. That was my tennis shoes, not a fart. So that we're not rewarding her for those things. Now, if she is anxious or nervous, I can touch and let her know I'm here with you by just touching her. Dogs associate touch with love. But petting her will enhance it. Now, because we have a lot of people that come and visit, we're kind of in the educational world here, I would recommend we come up with a list of command words and then give it, or house rules, and we give it to all the people who come and visit. Hey, if you want to pet her, you have to make her sit first. If she here are the list of command words. If you see her doing anything, please pet her. And anything else that guests do as common mistakes. That way the guests come in. Most people are respectful when they come into your house. They want to do it the way you want. Most of the time we just have so much stuff to tell them we forget. Just put it on one sheet. Makes it super easy. Get it copied 50 times at Kinko's. You're good to go. You have it by the door. Now, other things I like to do is watchwords. If we come in the room and we see somebody's petting her and she's standing up, we say paycheck. Paycheck means I suspect you may have forgotten to ask her to sit first. So the person who is petting her stops, says sit. When she sits, pet her and say sit. We tell the person I asked her to sit before you came in the room. She just didn't, I just continued petting her. I also use the word reward. Reward means that we missed an opportunity to do passive training. So if the dog comes to me and somebody says reward, I just turn and look at the dog. If the dog's standing, I pet it and say come. If it's sitting, I pet it and say sit. I just say whatever the dog happens to be doing at the time. The more we reward desired behaviors, the more the dog will be apt to engage in them. I'd also like the guardians to come up with a list of the command words that she has and consolidate them. Most of us say 10 versions of every command word. Can't pull your finger.
Nope.
Come here, over here. Here, dog. Dog's name. Whistle. Tap my thigh. Now the dog has to listen for all these different commands. If it's always come, it's easier for us to consolidate. It makes it easier for her to perform better. So those are this is all the highlights of the session that I can remember. Now, if you have questions, like I said, text me or call me. I don't care if it's 7 years after we work together. I want you to feel like you got a buddy who is the dog behavior expert. All right, well, she is doing what most dogs do at the end of my session. She's demonstrating that we've over-exercised one of her biggest muscles, her brain. So,
exhausted.
She bored my dog again.
this is Tashe, and this is her roadmap to success.
Yeah.
Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.